Imagine walking through the gates of hell, not as a soul damned for eternity, but as a living person, fully conscious, carrying your burdens and ambitions with you. That's the journey R.F. Kuang takes us on in her latest novel, Katabasis. This isn't just a story about venturing into the underworld, it's about survival, memory, sacrifice, and the ways people confront the darkest parts of themselves when there's no way out. In today's video, we're diving deep into Katabasis, exploring its world, its characters, and its haunting themes. By the end, you'll feel like you've walked alongside the characters, facing the same horrors, temptations, and impossible choices that define their journey. So grab a drink, get comfortable, and let's descend into the underworld together. The novel begins in a world that feels both mythic and familiar. R.F. Kuang roots the story in classical mythology. Katabasis itself is a Greek term meaning a descent, usually into the underworld. Think of Orpheus, who journeyed down to retrieve Eurydice, or Aeneas, who sought wisdom from the dead. But Kuang reimagines this concept in her own dark, layered way. Instead of gods and demigods, the protagonists are mortals carrying guilt, ambition, and unanswered questions. Their hell is not just fire and brimstone, but a psychological labyrinth, a place that reflects back their fears, regrets, and suppressed desires. This makes Katabasis both a literal journey and a metaphorical one, examining what people do when forced to confront the weight of their past. At the center of the story is Iris, a young scholar whose sharp intelligence masks a deep sense of loss. She's driven by both academic curiosity and personal desperation. She doesn't just want knowledge, she wants closure. For Iris, the journey into hell begins as a quest for understanding, but quickly transforms into something much darker. Alongside her is Kale, a hardened soldier who has seen too many battlefields. He's a man shaped by violence, loyalty, and disillusionment. For Kale, hell is not just a place, it's something he's carried inside himself for years. He believes the descent might offer redemption, or at least an end to the nightmares that haunt him. Then there's Celine, a healer with secrets of her own. Outwardly compassionate and resilient, she hides the heavy truth that not all wounds can be healed. She enters the underworld with the hope of undoing past mistakes, but the further she goes, the more her healing turns inward, forcing her to confront her own fractures. Together, these three form the core of the journey, but the underworld is not a place for companionship. Kuang makes it clear from the start, alliances are fragile, trust is conditional, and hell has a way of stripping people down to their rawest selves. The story sets its descent in motion when Iris discovers fragments of an ancient manuscript, a text that claims the boundary between life and death can be crossed. The manuscript doesn't just suggest it, it gives instructions. And for Iris, who has been haunted by the death of her sister, the temptation is irresistible. Kale and Celine are drawn in for their own reasons, Kale chasing a chance at redemption, Celine searching for healing beyond medicine. The trio, each with their own motives, agree to follow the text's ritual. It's a dangerous gamble, but in Kuang's world, danger is inseparable from desire. The ritual itself is vivid, drenched in sensory detail, candles that burn with smoke instead of light, chants that feel like tearing open a seam in the world, and a silence that falls so heavy it's almost suffocating. When the air shifts, the ground drops, and the world folds in on itself, Iris, Kale, and Celine find themselves standing not in a place of fire and torment, but in a vast plain of shadows. They've crossed over. And the journey begins. Kuang's underworld is not the Christian hell of punishment, nor the Greek Hades of cold judgment, it is something in between. A place of endless corridors and shifting landscapes, where geography bends to memory. The terrain changes depending on who walks it, making the underworld deeply personal. For Iris, the first vision is her childhood home, but abandoned, rotting, with her sister's voice echoing through the empty halls. For Kale, it's a battlefield where the corpses of his fallen comrades rise to watch him in silence. For Celine, it's a village clinic where every patient she failed to save stares at her with hollow eyes. This early sequence sets the tone, hell is not only external but internal. The novel emphasizes that what torments you most is not what others do to you, but what you cannot forgive yourself for. Deeper into the underworld. As the journey progresses, the trio quickly realizes that the underworld is not a single landscape, but a shifting labyrinth. Every passageway seems to rearrange itself, every turn reveals something personal. It isn't just a place of the dead, it's a mirror of the living, reflecting their guilt, their fears, and the truths they've buried. Iris, Kale, and Celine try to stay together, but even in the earliest stages, hell works to separate them. The corridors are designed to isolate, to draw each of them deeper into their own unresolved pasts. It becomes clear that survival depends not only on physical endurance, but also on emotional resilience. The first trial, memory as a weapon. The first major trial is what Kuang describes as the Hall of Voices. Imagine a cavern so vast that every word spoken echoes infinitely. As they walk through, the characters hear whispers at first, then full voices. The voices of people they've lost, people they betrayed, people they could never forget. For Iris, it's her sister's voice, pleading with her, "Why didn't you save me?" For Kale, it's the commanding officer whose orders led to a massacre. For Celine, it's the children she failed to heal, each one calling her name. The voices are not illusions, they press against the mind, breaking down willpower, feeding on guilt. The trial is simple but cruel, keep moving forward without giving in. But each step feels like a betrayal, as if walking away means abandoning those voices forever. Iris nearly collapses here. Her sister's words are not just accusations, their memories relived with sharp clarity. Kale drags her forward, but his own resolve falters as he hears the cries of his fallen brothers in arms. Celine steadies them both, but it's clear she's breaking inside too. The Hall of Voices establishes the rules of Kuang's hell, every trial is designed to turn memory against the living. Fragile alliances. As the group emerges from the hall, cracks begin to form. Kale's military discipline demands focus, but Iris is shaken, doubting whether she can continue. Celine urges compassion, but her attempts at comfort only highlight how little they trust one another. The underworld is relentless in this, it thrives on suspicion. Small arguments flare into larger conflicts. Should they stick to the manuscript's guidance, or follow instinct? Should they travel together, or split up? Should they reveal their true motives, or keep them hidden? Here Kuang plants the seeds of one of the novel's biggest themes: can anyone truly trust each other when survival is on the line? The River of Reflection. The next stage is the river, not Styx, but Kuang's own invention, the River of Reflection. The water is impossibly still, like polished glass, reflecting not the face but the soul of whoever looks in. To cross, each traveler must confront the reflection without flinching. Iris sees herself not as she is, but as she might have been, a version of her who saved her sister, who lived without regret. This reflection is not hostile, it's seductive, tempting her to step into the water and merge with it, to rewrite reality. Kale's reflection shows him as a man who refused the orders, who saved his comrades instead of sacrificing them. A life where he became a hero, not a haunted survivor. Celine's reflection shows her as a healer who never failed, a woman adored, respected, free of grief. Each must resist the temptation to surrender to these alternate selves. But the closer they get to the far shore, the more the water pulls at them. Kale nearly gives in, the reflection whispers promises of peace, of brotherhood restored. Iris yanks him back at the last second. Celine emerges with tears streaming down her face, whispering that the water showed her the life she'll never have. Crossing the river becomes a turning point. It proves that their greatest enemy is not the landscape, but their longing for what cannot be.